All right, so just like in any other question that we've done in the past in chapter 1 and chapter 2 in trying to make sure we can build up an equation, we want to do the same thing here. And so remember we're dealing with x, y, and z in this one, so that kind of helps us to know what we should do here. But the first thing we want to do is try to break down this question into how many variables are there. So it says your aunt receives an inheritance of $20,000. So we know that's a total. So keep that in mind. We know that it's going to be equal to $20,000 for one of those equations. She wants to put some of her money into a saving account that earns 2% interest. Well, that shows you some type of multiple happening there. So we know that's going to be multiplying by some variable. 2% interest annually means that we're going to be multiplying something. So we know we have one variable already. And what variable is that? Since that's our first one, we can call that x, which is our savings account. So our x there is going to represent savings. And just having some trouble writing that out. So we keep reading, and it says, and invest the rest in certificates of deposits and bonds. All right, so we see there that that could possibly be our Y and Z because we have savings account, deposits, and bonds, and we know that the savings account has a 2% interest per year. It then says a broker tells her that the CD pays 5% interest annually. There you have it again. We have another multiple. So that means our Y could represent CDs or certificates of deposits. And so we see there that's going to be 5% interest. All right, so that's our CDs. And then last of all, we can assume that our Z is going to be the last thing there. We can see that 6% interest annually. That's another multiple. So we know that's 6% times our Z. So we have 0.0. So then our last variable would be bonds. All right, so we know we have one total already. That's $20,000. So then it says she wants to earn $1,000 interest per year, and she wants to put twice as much money in CDs as in bonds. All right, so just like we learned in linear systems, you want to get your totals as well. So what would your totals be? Well, you're going to have, as you can see, we have a total that's in dollars. So total in dollars, we have that. But then we see that we're dealing with interest, right? She wants to have a certain amount of interest per year. So we need to have our total in interest. And then the last thing that we have is, if we read this carefully, she wants to know how much should she put in each type of investment. And so in order to do that, we need to see what is the total amount that she's actually going to be putting in. How much money is she planning to be putting in that adds up to your dollar amount? So what's our total amount? All right, so let's go ahead and start off with the first one, or rather the second one. The second one is easy to start with, total interest. That doesn't look like interest. But our total interest, well, we see here that our X is savings, Y is CDs, and Z is bonds. And so if we start off with our savings account, we have a 2% interest per savings, right? So that's, let me just write it in a different color now. We have 0.02, that's 2% as a decimal, X, plus what is our interest in CDs? 5%. So that's 0.05 times Y, plus our Z, our bonds, is 6% interest annually, so that's 0.06 Z. And because it's interest, that means we're going to be adding it up in terms of total interest. And what was our total interest per year? $1,000. So that's our first equation. 1,000 is our total there, and we have our appropriate variables. Okay, so then if we do the next one, I'm just changing the color so it stands out. We need to see what is the total amount of dollars spent. Well, we don't know how much she's putting in savings, so we could just put X. We don't know how much she's putting in CDs, so we could put Y. And we don't know how much money she's putting in her bonds, so we could say Z. And we know that it will all total up to $20,000, right? That's the inheritance that she has, and she's going to distribute into her different investments. So then the last thing is, well, what's the total amount that we're using? Well, one thing that's truly given that we can work with, uh, it doesn't really give us any other information but this. And let me change the color first. That she wants to put twice as much money in her CDs as in her bonds. It doesn't really speak much about the savings account, which means we're going to have to use the information that we have to figure that out. But if she has twice as much money in CDs as in bonds, and CDs represents Y, we could literally write that. In terms of CDs, she has, which means equals, twice as much money as she does in bonds, which is Z. So now we have three equations. And we can now use our understanding to go ahead and solve. And we could use this a little bit faster because it gives us y equals to 2z. All right, so let's go ahead and work this out. Let's start off with the easy and hard one. So we're going to do first equation and third equation. And I'll change this to blue. So we're going to choose the first and the third. And so if we do that, we substitute y equals to 2z into that first equation. We're going to get 0 what's that, 200ths x plus 0.05, right, times y. Well, y is going to be 2z, so we could put 2z in there, plus 600ths times z equals to 1,000. If we simplify that, we're going to have 200ths of x plus, well, 500ths times 2. Well, that's going to give, think of that as 5 cents. If I have 5 cents times 2, I'm going to end up with 10 cents, or 100ths. I mean 1/10, sorry. Z plus 0.06, Z equals to 1,000. Right, we can add up our like terms there. So we're going to have 2x plus, well, 0.1 plus 0.06, or tenths plus a 600ths is going to give us 16 hundredths. Z equals to 1,000. All right, so we have our new equation 1. We could do the same thing. We can substitute our y equals to 2z into the second one. That way we can eliminate a little bit faster. So let's go ahead and do that. If we substitute y equals 2z into the other one, and I'll just keep this one purple, we're going to have x plus, instead of y, 2z plus z equals to 20,000. And if we simplify that, we're going to have x plus 3z equals to 20,000. And that's going to be our new equation 2. And what we've done now, we have our x and z ready to go. And let's change that color now to red. And we're going to use our new x and z's together. I'm just going to put that right here in this box. Alright, because of space, let's go ahead and multiply what these new equation 1 and new equation 2 would be in order to eliminate. We could get the x's to be the same. That would be the easiest. If we multiply this one by 100, right, we're going to get 2 there because 200ths times 100 is going to give you 2. Which means if I multiply the second equation by 2, multiply everything by 2, then I get 2 in my x's. So if we do the first one, 100 times 200ths, that's going to give me 2x. 100 times 1600ths, that's going to give me 16. So I have 16z. And then 100 times 1,000 is going to give us 100,000. All right, so we have our first new equation. And then our second one, 2x times, or 2 times x is going to give us 2x. Plus 2 times 3z is going to give us 6z. And then the 2 times the 20,000 will give us 40,000. All right, so now we could go ahead and eliminate that. We can subtract everywhere. That's the way we can cancel the x's. 16z subtract 6z will give us 10z. And 10s are easy to work with. And then 100,000 subtract 40,000 will give us 60,000. And to get z, we just divide everything by 10. Z will be equal to 6. Z will be equal to 6,000. Z will be equal to 6,000. Now that we have z, we can quickly find what y is by simply substituting it into our little y equals to 2z. And since z is 6,000, That would be very easy to find. So y is equal to 12,000. So we have y equals 12,000, z equals 6,000. And now we can substitute it into the easier x plus y plus z equals to 20,000. And I've got a lot of boxes here because this is a good bit of writing, good bit of work here. So x plus y plus z equals to 2,000. We do that here in this little box here, and hopefully you could just do so continuously on your paper. We have x, we don't know what that is yet, plus y, which is 12,000, plus our z, which is 6,000. It's going to be equal to 20,000. You could probably see what that is right away. We have x plus 18,000 equals to 20,000, and I don't think I need to show that other step. 2,000 plus 18,000 gives us 20, and so we can see already that x would be 2,000. And so now we have our final answers. You want to write this in a statement, and our statement will be that our last question says how much should she put in each type of investment. So she'll have $2,000, right? That's our purple one, $2,000 in her savings account. We would have for Y $12,000 in her CD or certificates of deposit account, and then she would put $6,000 in her bonds, and that way she can make the interest that you see there. And so she has definitely a good understanding of money and how to invest, and that's how you would find your answers.